You're watching Storyverse Global, where history, reality, and the world's deepest truths come alive. Throughout history, humanity has faced countless challenges, from the brutality of nature to the cruelty of rulers. Some eras were so terrifying, so devastating, that to be born in them almost guaranteed suffering. In this episode of Storyverse Global, we'll journey through the most nightmarish periods of the human timeline. From deadly ice ages to nuclear dread, this is the worst time to be alive as a human. For Part 1, Ice, Hunger, and Extinction, the Prehistoric Trial. Human life began humbly. Our early ancestors, from hominins to Neanderthals, roamed the Earth millions of years ago. By 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens emerged, hunter-gatherers surviving on instincts, foraging, and crude tools. But around 100,000 years ago, nature turned against them. The Ice Age began, a freezing grip that spread glaciers across Europe, North America, and Asia. Habitable land vanished, sea levels fell, and food grew scarce. Human survival became a gamble. There were no heated shelters or modern comforts, just fire, stone tools, and animal hides. As if the cold wasn't enough, the megafauna, giant mammals like mammoths, began dying off. Climate shifts and human overhunting drove many species extinct, forcing people to adapt quickly. Still, humans evolved. Speech, cooperation, and storytelling emerged. Caves like Lascaux in France preserved those ancient voices in art. They hunted bison and reindeer for food and warmth. They invented needles to stitch clothes. And in rock shelters, they waited out Earth's wrath, day by day. Part 2. The Mongol invasions, when humans became the monster. Fast forward to the 13th century. Under Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire exploded across Eurasia. It became the largest land empire in history, built on a philosophy of surrender or die. The Mongols didn't just conquer, they annihilated. Cities that resisted were erased. Merv in Iran saw over 1 million slaughtered in days. They used biological warfare, catapulting plague-infected bodies into cities. Crops were burned, populations starved, and cruelty became a strategy. In total, 20 to 60 million people were killed. Entire cultures disappeared. Historians say the scars of the Mongols created centuries of silence in some regions' histories. Pay 3. The 30 Years' War, religion's bloody reckoning. In 1618, Europe faced one of its darkest hours, the 30 Years' War. What began as a religious dispute exploded into a continent-wide catastrophe. The Holy Roman Empire fractured between Catholic and Protestant states. Spain, Sweden, Denmark, France, and the Dutch all jumped in. Armies ravaged the land. Disease, starvation, and fire followed. Germany lost up to 50% of its population in some areas. Civilian suffering reached unimaginable levels. Though France emerged stronger, the real cost was paid by the millions who never saw peace again. Part 4. The Congo Free State, Leopold II's secret genocide. In the late 1800s, King Leopold II of Belgium was hailed as a progressive builder, but behind his public works was a horror that unfolded in Africa. The Congo Free State was not a colony. It was his personal enterprise. Its resources, ivory, rubber, minerals, were extracted through mass forced labor and terror. Villagers who failed to meet quotas had their hands cut off. Families were taken hostage. Soldiers burned villages and even resorted to cannibalism. Over 10 million may have died, making it one of the largest genocides in history. Yet Leopold faced almost no consequences. Part 5. The Great Depression and Dust Bowl, when the world stopped spinning. After the party of the 1920s came the crash. In October 1929, the stock market collapsed, losing 85% of its value over the next few years. Banks failed. Businesses vanished. People lost homes, jobs, and hope. Then came the Dust Bowl, where droughts and storms crushed American agriculture. Cities faced hunger. Rural America starved. The government's heavy-handed tariffs only made things worse globally. As the world floundered, authoritarian regimes rose, most notably Hitler. Part 6. The Cold War, when one button could end everything. Post-World War II, nuclear fear defined life. By the 1950s, both the US and the Soviet Union had doomsday weapons. One mistake could trigger the end. School children learned duck and cover drills, while adults built bunkers they hoped they'd never use. The Cuban Missile Crisis nearly brought it all crashing down. But it was a Soviet officer named Stanislav Petrov who saved the world in the 1980s, refusing to launch a retaliatory strike after a false alarm. That's how close we came. One misjudgment from global extinction. These weren't just hard times, they were existential tests of humanity's will to survive. Each era came with its own terror, freezing climates, raging armies, genocidal empires, and nuclear nightmares. And yet somehow we endured. So the next time life feels hard, be grateful you weren't born in the wrong era. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment to let us know your thoughts. We love hearing from you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Storyverse Global and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on more amazing tales from around